Get Warrior Tough, Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman. And now back to Andrew and Dutch.
All right. Dutch and Andrew back at it. Talking about mental toughness, building a process, resilience. Here on the Get Warrior Tough radio show, the most monumental hour in media anywhere. Dutch is at the Dutch Coleman on the Twitter. I'm at Warrior Tough PhD. Use the hashtag Get Warrior Tough. GetWarriorTough.com. All right, Dutch. We have here in front of us one of the advanced coaching assignments that we do. And it's 10 techniques that we teach our clients on how to build resilience, a stealing effect for yourself. And I do want to preface it with saying this. This is the time to use these techniques. When you feel stressed, instead of going down the path of stress, reach for growth and mental toughness and resilience using these techniques. So what we're going to do is say no to stress when you start to tighten up, when you start see on that game last night, Dutch, I saw there was one pass that went to I think it was Edelman, and it went right between two of the DBs and the Falcons. I looked at, they started waving their hands at each other and barking at each other. You missed that play, and I said, that's it, it's over. These guys have gone from tight to stressed to now they're frustrated, and now they're fighting each other. And when you find yourself going through that cycle, because it'll start with stress, you'll get tight, then you get frustrated, then you begin to fight yourself, that's when you need to use these 10 techniques.
Yeah, and that's the funny part is that you're the last person to know that that's happening when you don't have any experience with identifying it. So that's why being able to identify it is just as crucial as knowing the first step.
Right.
Because again, you're the last to know. Those guys in the moment, there's no way they could take a step back and say, oh, I just did that, or we just did that. Like, you can have two elite warriors that'll do that. And so the elite warriors are human. They make mistakes just like everyone else, except for they can identify what just happened. So if two elite warriors are in competition, that happens, boom, they go, oh my goodness. Oh, all right, we just recognized what just happened. We identified it. Okay, now we need to go to step one. We need to, come up with a process that's going to get us away from that now. So so the information we're giving you is going to allow you, number one, to identify what just happened. What just happened to me? And then now I can roll into the process to the steps that's going to get me out of that space. So that's what the elite warrior does. But the regular person, they stay in there because they don't realize what just happened.
Right. Can you talk about that for a little bit, Dutch? What are some signs, that you're in the process of going from tightening up to frustration to, stress and frustration to anger and fighting yourself? Give me, because this awareness thing I think is huge, but I think the folks need to let's give them some how-tos or some signs, to be, hey, I might be in the middle of this.
Well, one of the main ones that we try to excuse is the actual physical feeling, the physical things that are happening to you in that moment that we kind of identified as other things, right?
So your blood pressure's going up, and your neck's getting hot, and your heart's palpitating, and we
make excuses.
Yeah,
we begin to make excuses for what I just missed that. Well, why did you just miss that? You've been practicing that all week, or the last 2 weeks in the case of the Super Bowl.
Or you blame somebody else why you missed it.
Blame someone
else. You made
else.
me miss it.
Absolutely. So there becomes a pattern. There's repeated misses. That might have been the first time that happened, but it wasn't the second. I mean, it wasn't the last time that it happened, right?
Right.
So when you see yourself starting to repeat these mistakes, and you're not correctly diagnosing them, then it's just going to be more and more. It's just going to pile up, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So really, you need to stop and diagnose it. Like, what's going on?
Right. So you start feeling frustrated. You start like this. Nothing's working. This is the time that, hey, red flag. I need to do some of these stealing resilience techniques. Is that a fair statement then, Dutch?
Absolutely, especially especially in athletics or any event where you felt like you've prepared, where there's been steps that you've taken to prepare, something's gone off the rail, something's gone off the tracks, right? Yeah. So that's when you stop in that moment, and then you begin to evaluate what's going on, and then that's going to lead you to your back into your process. It's going to make you put the train back on the tracks, so to speak.
Right, and this is the kind of the first one. You have to kind of do this. This is what rolls right into the first technique. You kind of have to do this before the moment, because you need what we're about to tell you in the moment, and that is to maintain a trusted inner circle of folks that love you enough to tell you when your attitude, your actions, or your behaviors are not taking you in the right direction, i.e. you're screwing up.
So let's repeat that. Let's repeat that. So I believe what you just said was the time to develop these things is not when it's going on.
Right.
So the Falcons were dead in the water.
Yeah.
They don't have time to go back to the sideline and then come up with a process and all kind of steps, making sure they were getting enough sleep. I'm sorry, I don't want to reveal all the steps, but
yeah. Well, can I say this? I just want to say, because they did a big thing on how the Falcons were, going for the brotherhood, and they brought in, SEALs to train them, and this was going to be a big thing. And then somewhere buried in the piece, I found out that it was a 4-day course. So they tried for 4 days. Yeah, and the difference is the Patriots, this is a lifestyle. This is a culture. Now, people, you're friends with people that have played, and they've been in that locker room. They've played for Belichick. So it ain't a game up there.
No,
it's not a 4-day day camp where we go lift logs for 4 days.
This is who you are, or you're not going to be there. It's not going to work. So we've seen a lot of people come and go with the Patriots, and many of them not by their own choices. So this is who you have to be to work within this system. You can't be one of those cogs that don't have a place in the system. You're just going to get thrown out into the scrap heap. You have to have what do you call it? You have to have a purpose in the machine, right? You have to have a reason that you're in that machine, or they're going to just unscrew you and throw you out in the scrap.
Right, and this very first technique is to have that trusted inner circle to tell you, hey, you're not fulfilling your purpose. You're off the rails. You're not with the program, right? Listen, Tom Brady, he's coachable. I guarantee you, when he threw that interception, no one was like, hey, man, no one better tell Tom about that was a bad decision. I guarantee you they were telling him that was a bad decision. There ain't no way Belichick. I mean, every time something bad happened, Belichick would be over there with that pencil and that pad. I'm like, dude, he's going to make dudes run laps on Monday. The season's over, and he's already writing down a hit list.
There's absolutely no question about that, man. If you don't believe that, then you don't know Belichick.
Right. So, but that's a trusted inner circle, and he loves his players enough to tell them when, hey, you know what, you're not taking yourself or the team in the right direction. And so this will help you in your personal life if you have trusted people, not yes people, not sycophants, not people that'll, placate you. So it's probably not going to be your mom, because she's not going to tell you when you're screwing up. She's going to make you your favorite cookies and help you make you feel better that you had a bad day. Right?
You're right, though. I mean, that's it. That's what it is.
Iron sharpening iron, right? So we call it the phalanx in Get Warrior Tough, where the phalanx was, if you ever seen that movie, The 300, where the soldiers, the hoplites, the infantrymen, would stand shoulder to shoulder, and I would protect the guy to my left with my shield, and I would have my sword or spear in my right hand. And as we're shoulder to shoulder, each guy in the line is protecting the other person.
And this is as corny as it may sound, it's so effective. You have to watch the movie 300, and you have to see something that sounds so corny was so effective. And that's how it is in real life.
Right, and that's what the team, and that's what these guys were talking about. I mean, I'm not talking about the stars in the Patriots, but just the teammates, that they were like, it's all about the team. There's no glory here. We know that everybody gets paid more if we win a championship. That's what Bennett said, the tight end. Bennett, hey, we all get paid more if there's a championship. There's more than enough credit to go around when everybody's got a ring, right? Instead of people just trying to grab personal glory. And this is how they pulled that stuff off, is that they have a trusted inner circle that says, you know what? No prima donnas around here. Your actions and your behaviors, they take us all in the right direction. You're not going to anchor us and drag us down.
And the beauty of this is, and why it works, it is so smooth, and they have this perfected to the point that if you're not on board, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And they're gonna call you on it, and then you have a choice to make. Are you in or are you out? And I mean all in. You can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Right.
Man, this is a finely tuned machine. And you can't have something that's half screwed on, man. You can't have something that's half this or loose or that. Man, these guys, man, if you don't believe that this stuff is real, man, you hadn't been paying attention. You
now,
have not been paying
I
attention.
do want to take a second to say that, and I've heard this chatter, that people, first off, they hate them. They hate the Patriots because they win all the time, just like Alabama. Then people say, well, I don't have as much problem with Alabama because they don't cheat. If you think it's because they're cheating that they've won 5 Super Bowls, they've been to 7 or 9, or that they do more with less and they're under the salary, if you think that's average-minded, because what you're doing is excusing the process that they have in place and the work that is actually done to get there and stay at the top. And listen, you can say it. I don't judge you for saying it. But what you're doing when you say that is you're relegating yourself to a life of mediocre results.
I think the other thing is that within every process, within every thing in this world, whether it's athletics, whether it's business, there's a set of rules and a set of parameters, right?
Yeah.
And when you're trying to operate in excellence, all that's required is that you operate within those parameters, right?
Yeah.
You see it in NASCAR. You operate within those parameters. Now, you may push those parameters to a certain point, but even with that, within the system, there's consequences to that, right?
Right.
So if I'm playing football and I'm holding, right, and I get caught, there's a penalty associated with that, right?
Yeah.
That's not cheating.
No, it's holding.
That's something I did, and there was a penalty associated within the game, right?
Yeah.
So the same things happen when anything. I always tell people, when it's written down on paper, no matter what, when it's written down on paper, if you're not breaking the law, so to speak, within activities within sports, if it's written down on paper and it has consequences, and you know that, then it also gives you the choice to push up against that if you're willing to accept the consequences, right?
Yeah, let me bring it home a little bit, Dutch. If you've ever gone more than 25 miles an hour in the school zone, if you've ever gone more than 55 miles an hour on the highway, you're cheating.
Or let's say if you call what the Patriots doing cheating, then you're also cheating.
Yeah,
right?
Then you're a cheater as well.
Then you're a cheater as well.
Then come on in and drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah, come on in, drink this Kool-Aid, and let's get back to the process, right? So that's I got to get that off the table because I can hear the the chirping in my ear. Okay, so number 2, don't waste 1 ounce of your energy fretting, worrying about things that you cannot change. They couldn't change anything that happened up to the 28 points. All the mistakes. Tom Brady could not change the interception.
Right.
But it happened. What are you going to do, meltdown? I've seen dudes do this. I've seen top shooters in the world go out and they're trying to shoot a perfect score, right, on a combat course, and they blow like one of the first rounds, and so now they can't get a perfect score. They can still get a 299 out of a 300, which is just totally awesome, but they just kind of like, I'm done, my perfect score's gone, and that's it, it's over. That's just stupid.
Right.
So don't waste any of your energy on stuff you can't change.
Absolutely. And then we kind of focused on that earlier too, when we were kind of giving like a general synopsis. It's time for step 2. Once step 1's over, it's time for step 2.
And here's step 3. Yeah, here's step 3. Refuse to see a crisis as unbearable.
Oh, you know what was unbearable for most people? A 25-point deficit.
Yeah,
that's what the average-minded people were seeing that as unbearable, and that's the problem. Those guys on the Patriots sideline didn't see it as unbearable. We got about 30 seconds left, but that was huge. That the average-minded person sitting at home, I saw the Skip Baylesses of the world and all of them saying this game's over, it's done, like all that, and those are average-minded folks.
Yeah, I never bet against Brady and Belichick. I did that. I didn't bet against them, but one day a couple years ago they were playing Denver on a Sunday night game and they were down like 24-0. It was a freezing cold night. I'm like, I'm not watching. This is bad football. They came back and won, and my wife was like, you should have stayed up and watched. So exactly, man. Exactly. It's a pattern. You're listening to the Get Warrior Tough radio show with Dutch and Andrew.